welcome back to another video. I have to say I'm in the mood again to stir the pot very intensely. So I thought let's review some 2025 knitting trends just to see what we should be taking into the new year and what we maybe should leave behind. Also, I have heard a lot of people say that 2025 was a bit of a difficult year for them. However, I do have to say my 2025 was pretty good. I'm quite happy with the year that was. So yeah, let's hope that 2026 is gonna be a good one for all of us, hopefully. Okay, the first trend that I would like to discuss are babaa sweaters. I'm sure you all know what they are. And for me, that would be one of the trash trends. What else did you expect from me? By the way, I have a massive pimple. That's probably what I get for being such a bitch. I do not like the babaa sweaters. I do appreciate what they do as a company and the values that they stand for. For example, I read on their website that their sheep are being treated really well. They hand select the dyes that they dye the yarn with, but I heard a lot of people say on YouTube that the babaa sweaters are hand knit, and I don't think that's the case, actually. The website said that they are machine knit but hand assembled. And like, if you've ever operated a knitting machine, even one of the more primitive ones, you know how difficult that is. So I do appreciate the skill that is needed to operate the knitting machines. And they do have their factory in Barcelona, so local people and not like exploiting people from the global south, which is always very nice. But they are knitting the sweaters in panels and then hand sewing them together. And when you machine knit sweaters, there's a device that's called a linker, and you don't even have to hand stitch. You put it on the linker and then the linker goes and then it's connected. So there is an amount of production by hand involved, but they're not as handmade as a lot of knitters on YouTube make them out to be, I believe. And what I ultimately want to get to is you could make any basic ass sweater with like 30 centimeters of ease in a single color and you would get the babaa look. I do not understand it. If you are a knitter and you can make anything you want, why would you make a sweater that's not really even supposed to look hand knitted? Like, if you want to support a company that has some semblance of values, then please buy a babaa sweater. But why would you make a sweater that looks like them? Because they're not special. I'm sorry, they really do not look like anything special. And I think there's a whole truckload of good basic knitting patterns out there, even free ones. I just don't get it. The second one I do get. The knit lafufus. So a lot of people have started knitting and crocheting lafufus, and there are even some patterns out there, more or less cursed. But I just love how Labubus came up as this symbol of overconsumption and really fast-moving trends and destroying the environment. Like, I do own a Labubu. I'm not better than anyone else here. I too have fallen victim to the Labubu craze, but I did buy mine secondhand because I wanted a specific color and I don't like blind boxes for that reason. I want to know what I get, you know? I don't want to end up with a shitty one. Anyway, I just think it's so unhinged to crochet or knit a Labubu And I respect that so much. I think it's really cool. And also, I love looking through the project pages on Ravelry because, like, I'm not saying I could do it, but depending on your level of skill, these amigurumi type figures, they can come out really, really cursed. And I just think it's so much fun to look at these cursed little things that people have made. And if I were to attempt to make one, mine would probably come out really, really bad. And also, there's patterns for Labu clothing out there. What I find a bit ridiculous is people dressing their Labubus in fake Chanel from Temu. Like, that's a bit too much for me personally, but making a cable cardigan for Labubu, I think that's pretty cool. I like that. Let's keep that spirit. Also, I should probably say these trends are not based in data science or anything objective. It's just what I've seen around, what I did consider a trend. But what I think we can all agree on is that butter yellow was pretty big last year. And I do like butter yellow. I'm not into pastels in general. Like pink and blue have to be very specific shades if they're light. But I do think butter yellow it looks very good on pretty much anyone, no matter the hair color, the skin tone, the eye color. I think everyone looks good in butter yellow. And I also really enjoy butter. So yeah, I think we can keep that one too. We then have a ton of boucle vests. And I think they were a good one too. There's a bunch of patterns that I've seen around. The one that I was considering making was the big bird vest because it has a bunch of details on it that make it really interesting to me. I love the piping kind of thing that goes around the edges, and also there's a huge bird double knit on the back, and it looks so cool. I probably wouldn't have the patience to do that because I hate intarsia, and I think it's probably very similar to knitting intarsia. So if I had made it, I would have made it with just a single color back. But I really like boucle vests. I have made a Maggie vest in Boucle yarn, and I held a mohair with it to get gauge, and it's the warmest thing I own. That fiber combo is just, it works really well, and it's so soft and lovely. I really do understand why so many people have tried knitting with Boucle yarns this year. I think they're really cool. And I think we can also keep that moving forward. I would love to make a full boucle sweater, actually. Like, that could be so cozy. Then, obviously, you've all seen it towards the end of the year, the felted slippers. I do like them as a concept. I think it's really cool. And I think, as a community, we need to explore felting more. Like, one of my mutuals on Instagram, Nidalee, she's also here on YouTube, she has written a pattern for a felted tote bag, and I think that's so cool. Like, felted knit fabric is very sturdy and it's very squishy, and if you take into consideration how thick the fabric is gonna be when you make the pattern for your bag, I think that can be really beneficial. I think it would also be really cool if I were to make a felted jacket. Like, that's probably gonna be really warm. And you could even combine felted and non-felted knitting. Like, you could knit and then felt the outer shell, and then you could knit a lining. That could be so warm and cozy, right? So I think felting as a concept is something that we could really explore more. And that could bring some really cool results. However, what I didn't appreciate was how a certain knitter who came up with the knitted felted slipper pattern came for someone who wrote a crochet felted slipper pattern, because let's just leave the crocheters alone. Like, some of them are a little scary, and I think they have it hard enough as a community because crochet is kind of difficult, I think. So yeah, I think that was unnecessary. But felted slippers as a project, I do have yarn to make some because I want to make some as presents, and then I want to make some for myself because I'm always cold. So yeah, love that. Let's just leave the lawsuits in 2025, okay? Good. Another thing that I guess it hasn't been a major trend because it's been around in the last years, but I've seen a lot of garter stitch and patterns that are very heavily based on garter stitch as a design feature, and I don't like it. I have seen a pink Sophie scarf, and the Sophie scarf is garter stitch, and it looked like just a sausage of ground meat around the person's neck. And I don't know, garter stitch makes me uncomfortable. There's just so much going on. There is a cardigan by Laura Penrose that is knit vertically. And I think that's such a cool concept, and I would have considered knitting it, but I'm not gonna be knitting it in garter stitch. And I don't think you can just swap the garter for a stockinette, because then that's gonna change the row gauge, which is gonna change the width of the garment, which could be kind of catastrophic. So I won't be attempting that. But I'm also personally not a fan of garter stitch. I do understand why people like it, because it's just fun to knit. Like, you don't have to purl. But yeah, it's not for me. Like, you can take it into 2026 if you want. I'm gonna be leaving it. Another thing that I've seen a lot is super fuzzy yarns, especially Langyans Basta, which I really like the look of it. I haven't tried it. And I came across another super fuzzy yarn. This is probably only available in Germany and maybe the EU. It's by Schulana. And they have some really cool colors. And I'm a fan of anything fuzzy, basically, especially if you don't make it in natural colors, but colors that a fuzzy animal definitely wouldn't be in the real world, like pink or neon yellow or something like that. I love it. It just looks insane. I saw this sweater on Instagram that was this like salmony pinkish red color, all over, super fuzzy, and it had these plastic animal eyes on it. And that one lives rent-free in my brain. I definitely want to make that one in the coming year because it's just so crazy and so cool. Like, have you ever seen anyone walk around in a garment like that? I don't think so. Like, we could be pioneers, do you understand? Okay, the next one is gonna offend a bunch of people again, but like, yeah, you know what to expect from my channel at this point. Deborah can crawl back into the woodworks. I will be saying the names of these patterns because I think a lot of you circular yoke people could enjoy them, and I don't wanna, like, that is not meant to offend the designers of these patterns in any way. I'm just expressing my personal opinion on the things that everybody else is free to make, okay? No judgment here. I will be calling this trend circular yoke sweaters with ugly ass increases. So the craze came out with the, I don't even know what it's called. It's a circular yoke sweater with colorwork, and the colorwork itself looks really nice. I also like the colors that she chose, but for a circular yoke to increase in size, towards the bottom you have to make increases, right? And they're not like condensed into one place like they would be in a raglan, but they are spaced all over the yoke. And whenever in the colorwork an increase is made, I think it looks like a mistake. I think it looks like a beginner colorwork knitter attempted to make a colorwork sweater and then fucked up the increases. That's what it looks like to me. Like, it bothers me so much for some reason. And the other one is Brioche. It is the Copenhagen sweaters by Les Filles de Coeur. And that one doesn't bother me as much because it looks cleaner due to the sweater only being 2 colors. But I still hate it. It makes me so uneasy for some reason. But yeah, I hate circular yokes in general, so it's probably not a surprise that I'm not in love with these. I think we can leave those. I will never be making these sweaters, probably. Yeah, let me know your opinion on these kinds of circular yoke designs. I think they're much easier to look at for me personally when the increases are just well hidden into the colorwork motif and they're not a design feature. Another thing that probably all of you have seen around a lot are like non-symmetrical button bands. There's the peony vest with the wavy button band, and then there's also the Valerie blouse and the clematis sweater. And I think those are really cool. I really liked seeing those because if you think about it, a cardigan with a straight line down the front, that is the opening, there's so much potential to just go crazy with it. So I really like that a lot of designers from the knitting community took that opportunity and brought us some very cool patterns. I really love that. I have made the Valerie blouse and I wear that quite a lot because it is a very versatile piece of clothing, but it still looks cool. It still has something unexpected without being super crazy and in your face. So I would like to see more of that, please. I just will not be writing any more knitting patterns because that makes me want to jump off a bridge. So somebody else has to do it. Thanks. And to end on a high note, but is it really a high note? I don't know. The last thing I would like to talk about are bonnets and scoodies. So the concept is really, really cool. I love it because, especially for us people who have bangs, a hat will just squish them and then they're gonna develop some gaps and they're just gonna look very crazy. So having something that you can just pull over from the back and that's gonna leave your bangs untouched, basically, is wonderful. And another thing that I think is a very big advantage when it comes to balaclavas, scoodies, bonnets probably, is that when you put on a scarf and a hat, then there's gonna be a gap between those two and the cold can really creep into your neck. That's what really bothers me with the hat and scarf combo. But if you put on a scoodie or a balaclava, then that's not gonna happen. Your neck is gonna be so warm and cozy. And I think that's, again, something where the knitting community has shown a lot of innovative spirit. Women in STEM. So that is really cool. I have one balaclava, which I really enjoy wearing, but it's not super warm because it was a scrap project and it has quite a lot of cotton in it. But I do see the potential because it keeps my neck and like the area below my chin really nice and warm. Then I do have one massive machine knit scoodie. It's basically a 2-meter scarf with a hood on it. And it's lovely. It's so big and so chunky and it keeps me so warm. And then I have a hand knit scoodie, which I don't like, and I think that's probably 100% my own fault. I probably knitted a bit too loosely. So one of the yarns that I used was an alpaca, and my tension is very loose anyway, so I have to size down my needles quite a bit, and alpaca is very slippery. So I wasn't able to get a really good grip on it and pull it really tight. So the wind just goes straight through, as if there was nothing on my head. So that's why I haven't enjoyed wearing it a lot. But the colors are so pretty. I'm kind of sad that this project doesn't have a lot of use for me. I'm gonna have a think on what I can do. Someone suggested that I could line it, which I will be thinking about. That could be very useful, I believe. But yeah, I'm very glad that 2025 brought us goodies and bonnets. I've never made a bonnet because they're just not my style, I think. But again, if you have bangs or a fussy haircut in any way, then that could be really cool. And I love the ones that have colorwork. Like I've seen ones with geese on it and stuff, and that's just so cool. It's so whimsical and it's a bit more special than just an ordinary hat. So yeah, these are all the 2025 trends that I could think of. If you have any more trends to discuss, please put them in the comments, and whether you would take them into 26 or whether you would like to leave them behind. As for what's coming, I'm not really good at predicting stuff. I've seen that trend where people post pictures of themselves from 2016, and in 2016 we had rompers. So I'm quite curious to see whether there's gonna be any knit rompers around. I'm not sure whether that would be a good idea or not. We will see. Anyway, I hope you had a great start to the new year. I hope you continue to have a very good year. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye!